Hello, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into a topic that's been floating around the fan community for a while. What if Joe Swanson, Quahog's finest, decided to make his own video game? It sounds like the setup for a classic cutaway gag, but let's actually break it down. What kind of game would Joe create? What would the gameplay be like? And most importantly, would it actually be any good? Grab your joystick and let's get into it. First, we need to understand Joe's core character traits. He's a police officer, so a sense of justice, rules, and procedure is ingrained in him. He's also incredibly determined, almost to a fault. This is a man who doesn't let his physical limitations stop him from chasing down bad guys, coaching baseball, or, well, anything, really. And let's not forget his intense, sometimes over-the-top personality. Joe doesn't do things by halves. He's all in, all the time. He also has a surprising creative side, as we've seen with his unpublished book, and a deep, often unappreciated, well of emotions. So, what genre would Joe's game be? A police procedural seems like the obvious choice. I can just picture it now. Swanson's Justice, Quahog PD. It wouldn't be a fast-paced run-and-gun shooter like Grand Theft Auto. No, Joe's game would be a meticulous, detail-oriented simulation. Think Lenore meets Police Quest, but with the absurd humor of Quahog. The main gameplay loop would involve responding to calls, gathering evidence, and filing paperwork. Lots and lots of paperwork. Imagine a minigame where you have to fill out a BOLO report, and if you misspell a single word or use the wrong form number, you fail the mission. Joe would see this not as tedious, but as a crucial part of realistic police work. He'd probably record the voiceover himself, yelling things like, "Noi, you idiot!" That's Form 27B6. You need the 27B7 for a stolen lawn gnome. The missions themselves would be straight out of Quahog. One mission might be investigating a disturbance at the Drunken Clam, which just turns out to be Peter trying to pay his tab with a live chicken. Another could be a high-speed pursuit, but instead of chasing a sports car, you're chasing the greased-up deaf guy. The controls for the wheelchair would be incredibly detailed, with separate inputs for power lean, tactical spin, and, of course, the leg flail intimidation button. Character creation would be limited. You can only play as Joe Swanson, but you could customize your wheelchair. We're talking different paint jobs, custom rims, and maybe even a siren that plays a distorted version of Surfing Bird. The skill tree would be unique, too. Instead of upgrading your strength or agility, you'd upgrade things like paperwork proficiency, inspirational yelling, and rage-fueled determination. Maxing out the rage-fueled determination skill would unlock a special ability where Joe's legs briefly regain function, allowing him to perform a devastating dropkick, followed immediately by him collapsing and needing a cooldown period. Let's talk about the supporting cast. Your partner wouldn't be Peter or Quagmire. They're far too unreliable. Joe would probably create a new character, an idealistic rookie cop named Officer Sensible, who acts as the player's moral compass and tutorial guide. Peter, Quagmire, and Cleveland would feature prominently as persons of interest. You'd have to interrogate them constantly. The interrogation mechanic would be a dialogue tree, but every option with Peter leads to a non sequitur about the time he fought a giant chicken. Quagmire's interrogations would just be a series of increasingly censored giggities that you have to decipher. Bonnie and Kevin would also play a role. Bonnie might run the in-game store where you can buy coffee and donuts that provide temporary stat boosts. Kevin would occasionally show up to offer surprisingly sage advice before disappearing again, a mysterious and powerful NPC. The main villain of the game wouldn't be some criminal mastermind. The ultimate antagonist would be bureaucratic red tape. The final boss fight wouldn't be a shootout, it would be an audit. You'd be locked in a room with a city accountant, and you have to justify every expense report you filed throughout the game. It's a battle of wits and receipts. "Why did you spend $50 on tactical churros?" the auditor would ask. You'd have to select the correct dialogue option to justify it as a necessary expense for officer morale. Now, let's consider the marketing. The trailer wouldn't be explosive. It would be a shot of Joe, sitting at a desk, intensely filling out a form, with dramatic orchestral music swelling in the background. The tagline would be something like, "Justice isn't always exciting, but it is always necessary." Or maybe, "Get ready to file." Would the game be a commercial success? Too. Probably not with the mainstream audience. Critics would likely pan it for its slow pace and punishing difficulty. IGN might give it a 4.5, with the review headline "More bore than war." But it would develop a die-hard cult following. A small, dedicated community of players who appreciate the game's brutal realism and uncompromising vision. They'd create forums dedicated to finding the most efficient way to complete Form 88C for a public disturbance complaint. Speedrunners wouldn't be trying to finish the game quickly. They'd be competing for the 100% paperwork completion category. Joe, of course, would be immensely proud of his creation. He wouldn't care about the bad reviews. He'd see them as proof that most people just don't have what it takes to appreciate true police work. He'd read forum posts from his fans aloud at the clam, tears in his eyes, saying, "See, they get it. This guy, paperwork_punisher_82. He understands the subtle beauty of a properly alphabetized evidence locker." In the end, Joe's game would be a perfect reflection of himself. Intense, uncompromising, a little bit absurd, and driven by a powerful, if slightly misguided, sense of duty. It wouldn't be the game we want, but it would be the game Joe Swanson believes we need. It's a game about the quiet, unglamorous heroism of doing things the right way, even when the right way is incredibly boring and difficult. And in a world full of flashy, action-packed games, there's something oddly respectable about that. It's a game with integrity. Joe Swanson's integrity. So, what do you think? Would you play Swanson's Justice, Quahog PD? What other features would you add? Let me know down in the comments below. I'd love to hear your ideas for Joe's perfect video game. As always, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into hypothetical video games, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more content. We'll see you in the next one.